Right now, I want to welcome here on set from the Warrior Angels Foundation. Andrew Marr is with us, the CEO and founder of the foundation. Andrew, how are you, sir?
Cam, I'm fantastic. Thank you for letting us be on.
Oh, absolutely. And Chase Rowan is with us as well. Chase, thank you, sir, for coming on the program today.
Doing great, sir. Having a great time. Sorry.
Excellent. No, I understand. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to have you both here. So tell me, and we do, of course, have our friend Ed Morrissey from Hot Air, author of Going Red. I won't do the subtitle right now.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. So, Andrew, what is the Warrior Angels Foundation all about? What do you guys do?
We were looking for an alternative means to psychotherapy and medication for treating traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. Okay? That's how I was treated, and that's how hundreds of thousands of other people have been treated, and that has not improved anybody's quality of life. As a matter of fact, it's only made matters worse. And so what we found is by addressing a certain type of hormones that are produced in the brain called neurosteroids. We can figure out what's deficient, what you're deficient in your neurosteroids, and we can bring that back up to your physiological levels. People get better. I was on 13 medications. I was an alcoholic. My wife was 9 months pregnant, and her only request to me is that I could not drink that for that day because she was afraid she would have to drive herself to the hospital if she went into labor. You know, at that time I was like, that's it. I have got to find another means of what's going on, and that's when we started the road to finding the truth.
And so, you know, this is something obviously where we've got more veterans coming back home from Iraq and Afghanistan. We are learning more about PTSD. Some of us are learning, you know, about our friends and our family members who have PTSD, but we don't necessarily understand what causes that, right? And what the again, what the options are. So you feel like this is sort of, you know, when you go into the VA system or you go in and you talk to your doctor and you're diagnosed with PTSD, the automatic assumption is, well, let's medicate you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the protocol.
And Chase, I'm curious, your story as well. You're a former Army Ranger, right?
Yes, sir.
And thank you both, by the way, for your service and all that you've done. So tell me, how did you get involved with the Warrior Angels Foundation?
Well, Andrew and I have actually known each other for at least 15 years. We went to high school together, so we grew up together in a lot of ways. But I served in a 3rd Ranger Battalion in the Army, and after my deployment to northern Iraq, came back, and during the training operation, I suffered a traumatic brain injury. My parachute didn't open fully. So therefore, I was then medically discharged from the Army, and shortly after being discharged, I was drugged up incredibly, and in about 18 months my entire life just started to spiral downward.
I'd like to ask you guys, I mean, there's certainly been a lot of controversy over the Veterans Administration, the VA hospital system. I want to focus, though, really how that applies to this particular issue.
Right.
You know, the VA, for all of its other problems, generally is regarded as a pretty high-quality provider for very specific battle type, service-related injuries, service-related illnesses. Why do you think they haven't quite got a grasp on PTSD? Because this has been something that has obviously been an issue, really, going back to the Vietnam War, which is when we started really seeing a lot of these cases come back.
You have to really look at what is post-traumatic stress. And you have to look at traumatic brain injury. What we're now finding out is the majority of people are massively misdiagnosed with post-traumatic stress. By definition, post-traumatic stress is purely a behavioral and psychological issue. So if there is any physical trauma in that person's timeline, by definition, it can't be post-traumatic stress. So the first thing we need to look at is traumatic brain injury. And that's when we go and we say, okay, well, let's do an independent, objective analysis of his blood to see where he's at. And we can then say, okay, this person is deficient in these very important neurosteroids that are responsible for making us who we are. Cognition, behavior, our physiology, our psychology, everything is wrapped up in it. And so if that is messed up and it's deficient and it's not working correctly, now we're going to have all these declines that we see in somebody's behavior. And it can happen slowly. It can happen a day, a week, a month, a year after the injury. And so when that happens and a person starts having issues, they can't tie it to any one event. And they're going to the doctor and they're saying, I don't know what's happening, but I think I'm going crazy. And I don't have any reason to. And instead of doing their due diligence, the medical system, they say, okay, great, you're going on packet number A of drugs. And when that doesn't work 3 months later, we'll up it and put you on packet B. So if you say you're depressed and you're put on antidepressants and you're still depressed, then that's probably not what's wrong,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where we are in the system. So the good news is we weren't going to wait around for the government to solve it. My family didn't have the time. We have people in need. So we went out and found an alternative means, and we're disrupting the entire system.
That's great. I mean, is the VA listening now?
We've been in conversations with the highest echelons of the VA, and they're not going to have a choice. It's going to be one or two things. It's either going to go, they're going to have to accept it, or the current technology is going to advance so much that it'll democratize and dematerialize the current healthcare system. Where,
Right.
it's like, hey, do whatever you want. We can get this groundbreaking therapy, whether you want to pay for it or not.
Talking again with Andrew Marr, the CEO and founder of the Warrior Angels Foundation, and Chase Rowan as well with community relations for the foundation. So how do you folks raise funds, Andrew? What do you do to...
We're a 501c3, so we're a nonprofit organization. So we function off people's generosity. And the way I look at it is an investment. You're investing in somebody's life. We've now been able to treat over 100 veterans. Many were on a multitude of medications and had more than one attempt at suicide. And the majority of our guys are completely off all medications and back and living life again.
That's amazing.
Wow, that is amazing.
So we're just bringing the results and letting people understand what's out there and saying, hey, if this is a value to you, and it is to us, then this is a great way for you to be able to give back.
Well, listen, again, we cannot thank you enough for everything that you've done for this country, and thank you again for everything you continue to do.
It's on our website, Chase, www.waftbi.org. We have a plethora of information on there, put out a ton of stuff on brain health, all the social media. We're the cool kids with social media these days, so we're on all the hot links, and we're putting out, dropping knowledge bombs left and right.
Andrew, listen, thank you so much for coming by. It's a real pleasure.
Pleasure's ours.
Chase, thank you as well, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your service.
Andrew Marr joined us again with the Warrior Angels Foundation. Chase Rowan joined us as well here on NRA News, Cam and Company.